Fresh inflation data out this week disappointed the markets, with the stock market sliding lower. While gas prices did ease, climbing food prices are still at play. But are there other costs aiding food inflation? Here's John Phipps.
Got an interesting question from Kevin Noble in Blooming Prairie, Minnesota. What part of the cost of groceries price increase has come from putting in self-checkouts, which I think should lower prices? And second, how much are grocery prices up now that said franchise is sponsoring an Indy race car team? Good return on investment or reason for higher groceries? Okay, let's start with the first one. Self-checkout economics are vague and changing. When first introduced on a wide scale around the turn of the century, they were unpopular, and some stores, notably Walmart, installed some and then removed them. The majority of shoppers didn't like them, and theft was a major problem, more than offsetting labor costs. A self-checkout kiosk costs around $30,000, no small expense to be recovered. Since then, though, people and retail stores have adapted. The most recent information I could find, as well as my own experience, has suggested they are more widely accepted, more economical, and taking over the checkout experience. One big headache that has improved was payment. Both cash and card payments are now faster, with fewer errors needing human intervention. Shoppers have been subtly trained to use them. For example, Jan jots down produce product codes on her list rather than having to look them up at the kiosk. Credit card connections are much faster, and with chips instead of swiping, much smoother than just a decade ago. Shoppers often prefer to control the bagging process with their own idea of how it should be done. Jan's sure that way. For many of us, it is faster, especially if you only have one or two items. Finally, the pandemic and intensifying labor shortage has retailers facing little choice. Separating out the impact on inflation is difficult, but the figures I have found indicate self-checkout expenses are trivial compared to supply chain and pandemic consequences. Food inflation is currently the biggest factor in consumer price increases. Labor costs have risen to compete for scarce workers, but the self-checkout has not drastically lowered employee headcounts yet. As for sponsoring sports teams like racing, I am sure there are numbers that indicate the value of such advertising, but much of that analysis is based on secretive market research. Or maybe the chairman of the board just likes race cars.
Thanks, John. And when we come back, speaking of food, the Animal Science Department here has a long-standing tradition of serving up meat products that evolve with consumers' tastes. We'll show you how next.